Are you ready to unlock your potential? Ready to leverage your life experience? Primed for reinvention? Welcome to Keys to Change with Shelly Henderson, your roadmap to a fulfilling second act in the world of real estate.
This week, my guest is Gwenn Aspen, the dynamic CEO and founder of Anequim, a trailblazer in helping businesses, particularly in property management, unlock remarkable growth through strategic outsourcing and remote teams. Under her visionary leadership, Anequim has been recognized on the Inc. 5000 list for 3 consecutive years, achieving over 100% growth each year and hitting an impressive $22 million in revenue last year. Gwenn, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Shelly, I'm so excited to be here.
That is such an introduction, if I say so myself.
Oh my God, you guys are way too kind, way too kind.
You are all the way talking to me from Omaha, Nebraska. What a great thing technology is for podcasting, right?
Isn't it insane? I love it so much.
I love it too. And you and I have so much in common, and we probably could do more than one podcast. But today we're going to talk about how your company, Anequim, and how you got started and the keys to change that you have been a thoughtful leader in your industry. But you started out as property management, just like my husband and I did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had this tiny baby company, and it actually started in 2009 because we had this baby brand new property management company that we had just started. We had 2 tiny, tiny children. And my husband got a call from a friend. This is during the financial crisis. And she lived in Guadalajara. He'd known her for years. And she said, "You think it's bad in the US? Like, I can barely feed my child." And so that's right when VoIP phones came out. So he sent one down to her and she started answering the phones for our tiny company. And we really needed an employee, but we couldn't really afford, somebody in our local area. So this worked out perfectly. It was like the most magical win-win. Then we hired like all her friends so that we could scale the business. And that's really what made the business take off. And we just operated like that with we hired all her friends for marketing and, accounts receivable, all the things, maintenance coordination. We just operated like that. We grew our company grew by leaps and bounds. And then in 2016, we had a company from Denver come out and see us. And they were like, "This whole Mexico thing is working out great for you guys. Is there any way you could find someone for us?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll make it my side hustle," right? So I was working property management by day. I'll find you some people by night. 3 months later, they called us. They had hired 2 people, and they were like, "This is the biggest game changer. We can't even believe it. You should make this a business." So I went and stayed at my local Marriott, wrote the initial processes and procedures, and that's how Anequim formed.
I love that. When I was studying up on you and meeting you basically virtually, I was so intrigued because you saw then what is so needed right now in the industry. In our company at Henderson Properties, we have 3 virtual assistants, and they have made such a difference. And what we have found is a lot of people, other business owners are, maybe a little intimidated of the concept, or they're a little bit afraid of that. So what do you say for the person that, needs help, but they can't afford to pay somebody $20 an hour or whatever it is, a $50,000 salary or whatever. So what would you say about how they would potentially come across, lose that fear, so to speak, and go with the virtual assistant?
Well, I think there are a few fears that are based in misconceptions. So the first fear is that I'm going to hire this person and the quality is just going to be really low. Like I'll pay less, but I'll get less.
Right.
And what I'm sure you found, and what I found, is that actually the quality in a lot of cases, in most cases, I would say, is higher than what you would get in your local community. Because for an affordable price point, just because it's a an emerging market that they're living in. And in our case at Anequim, they're getting life insurance, a great pay, health
Right.
insurance, all the things. It's a lower price point for us, but the quality is insane.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's one of the misconceptions and where the people have to kind of change their minds on it. This is not something that you're doing and you have to accept less. This is where you're going to have exactly the same expectations as you would any local employee. It's just that they happen to live in another country. So I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest mindset shift. Once people realize that it's exactly the same, then it's really easy to get those KPIs in order, and make sure that we know what winning looks like and make sure that we really feel like a team. I think the other thing is just the fear of them not being local.
Yes.
And the thing is that working with remote professionals actually incentivizes the best management behavior because you have to, think a little bit more proactively. For one thing, with small businesses, many of us struggle with processes and procedures. Well, you don't have to be perfect to start with a remote professional, but you have
Right.
to think like, okay, we need to do this. So how about while you're training them, you make some videos and they write it into processes and procedures and then they use it. So you just use the best business practices when you're utilizing a remote professional.
Yes, that is exactly what we have done and what we have found. And um, they're a great way to add to your team. They don't have to be the ones in the forefront of the business, but they're behind the team and supporting them and helping them become the best version of them for your company. And the support is fantastic. I mean, we have um, one in Canada, we have one in Thailand, and I work with Daryl, our virtual assistant, on a daily basis, if you will, and he gets all of our mail from our rental properties, utilities, I should say, not mail, but utility mail, bill mail that he pays on behalf of our company. And what a life-saving tool that is to have a virtual assistant that could help do those types of tasks so that my team here in Charlotte can be doing other things.
Yeah, and some people are worried about how their team's going to react. Like I'm bringing these
Yeah.
remote
It's a
people into.
change. It's a change. Yeah.
But if we talk to them and we're like, hey, I want you to do things that build you up, that inspire you, like give me a list of the things that drain you and make you less productive and that you hate doing. And if you utilize what they like to do, what is worth their time, and you kind of build job descriptions based on people's strengths,
Yes.
based
Yes.
on what makes them happy, and then you go out and find a person to do those things that maybe this other person in Mexico, for instance,
Yes.
really loves all the tasks that the person locally in Charlotte doesn't like to do, then you
Right.
have a win-win. So you can really think about labor in a more dynamic way and just add remote professionals into the mix.
Right.
And you can make,
Right.
better profits or build your business sooner because there's that cost differential.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's what we have found. People want things, oh, we want to work smarter, not harder. And we'd like to have this in the office. We'd like to have that. And then when you give it to them, it's almost like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? So change is hard, but this is one thing that I think companies can change slowly on a small scale, but make a big impact. Wouldn't you say?
100%. A lot of the times we're just like, just try it. Let's date before we get married, like just try
Yeah.
one person
It's
and
like a
see
temp
how it works.
agency. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and for us, we're really interested in making sure the onboarding goes well. A lot of small businesses you
Yes.
onboard a person every 2 years. And so since you're not doing it all the time, it's helpful to have somebody make sure they're holding your hand and make sure that like you have all the right logins for them on the first day. And we're really
Right.
into including remote professionals and onboarding them exactly the same way you would any person at your office in your domestic location. So if you don't cut corners on the onboarding and you are like, this is we're a team, whether you're in Mexico or in Charlotte, we're 100% one team. And I'm going to onboard you and put as much work into you on the front end that I would any domestic employee. That's when we really see the magic, because everybody is on the same page. They're working by your company culture, your company
Yeah.
values, and they can think on their feet just like any employee in your office.
Well, and let me ask you, Gwen, how, like, you know, almost 20 years ago, we'll say what, 15, 14 years ago.
You're just going to be nice to me, aren't you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we won't talk about that. It's like somebody told me, just don't tell people how old your kids are, and then nobody will know how old you are.
I know.
We just started with virtual assistants a couple of years ago, probably during maybe the pandemic phase. So what was that, like 4 years ago? So what, tell me about how you saw that vision. How did you know that that was a key to change industry, or a key to make an industry like property management more successful? How did you know that?
So, well, we had practiced with our property management company. Just this was just such a winning formula for us. And we were growing, we were, profitable, and it helped us scale. So it was just such a win for us. And honestly, the whole thing just came out of friendship. I mean,
Yeah,
Veronica needed help.
right,
We figured out this technology. We were helping a friend. Then we helped all of her friends, because we just
right.
hired all the friends. And I think every project or every business that I've ever started, it came from, how can I add value? So I know a lot of people are like creative, like, what brings me joy? But what brings me joy is helping other people, right?
Right.
And so I feel like I have the best job in the world, because I get to help real estate and real estate
Yeah.
adjacent industries, which is my, my people, my industry. And I get to create amazing middle class jobs in an emerging market. And so in both cases, I feel like I'm doing my little part on this planet to add value in the way that I can. And it makes me so happy. So I guess,
Yes.
I
Yes.
guess in a way, and honestly, when we started the business, I thought it was going to be like my mom's side job. So I would say my mindset shift was over time. I'm a big journaler. And, one time we had some success, I would like recalibrate the dream and be like, ooh, well, if that's possible, then is this possible? And so I think it's for me in a personal way, as I'm growing and changing and scaling the business, it also correlates with like my own personal growth, and really opening my eyes up to what is possible for me personally, and seeing how it plays out. So I kind of have fun with that process, if that makes sense.
Yes. Well, total sense to me, because I can so relate. When my husband and I were wanting to have a business, I told you before we started recording, the teacher and me, I used to teach school before being an entrepreneur, and he and I trying to decide, oh, we want to be business owners. What should we do? What should we do? After we spent 2 years trying to decide, we were like, well, why not make our hobby our livelihood? And so that's how our business got started. Is we had already had rental properties, and were, investing in that and managing them. And so I love how that just comes together, and the way that it's supposed to be. And so many times people in their lives, I think, overlook that opportunity, not to necessarily own their own business, but whatever that may be, that thing that brings them joy, right? I mean, just to see the smile on your face, and the joy that it brings to me to talk to people in real estate and want to help people have real estate and have that journey of um, professionalism, or to have that generational wealth that real estate can bring. I just love it. And there's nothing better than doing what you love and what your purpose is.
Totally. And isn't it fun when you're also with other people who are doing what they love,
Yes.
following their
Yes.
genius? And I
Yes.
think when you're doing that for yourself, your team sees it. And when
Yes.
your team sees it, your customers see it. And
Yes.
it kind of grows and develops over time. And you're not going to start a company that is huge, right on the first day. You just make those small goals, you meet the
Right.
small goals, and over time, it's amazing what you can accomplish. And I'm sure what everybody listening to your podcast can accomplish.
Well, exactly. And sometimes we have to try an idea, whether it's, hiring friends to help answer the phone or whatever the case may be to see if it works. And sometimes these ideas do work and sometimes they don't. And we learn from them and we, move on, or we capitalize on the situation and the idea and make it even bigger and better. And I love that you just took the idea and something that you were doing to try to help somebody, and they in turn helped you. So it was such a win-win.
Well, and to your point, I mean, truly, throughout this process, we've made plenty of mistakes. We've fallen for, or what do they say, that fall forward,
Yes.
where you fall, you make mistakes, you turn a corner, you do something better. And so I think the key for us, and as if someone's growing with a remote team, you don't have to be perfect. And maybe you screw something up and you just say
Right.
sorry and we move on and we recalibrate, we do
Right.
better. So I think the key is, as people are following their passion, trying to do right by others, trying to bring joy to their customers and their employees, and be humble that, when you're trying new things, not everything
Right.
works, but you can still make a difference if every day you wake up and do it again.
And what are you seeing in your area in Omaha? What are some real estate trends that you're seeing right now? Is it a buyer's market, a seller's market? Do you see potential for investment opportunities? How is it?
Omaha is a great place to invest, and it's because we're the steady Eddie economy. So, like even in 2008, 2009, things just kind of move along. So you're not going to get any dramatic growth here, but you're not going to fall on your face. It's just like this steady Eddie for all things. If that's what you're looking for, that stable investment, that's what Omaha could bring any investor. But there's never anything too dramatic here. I mean, it's just one of those economies that's always does well, but nothing crazy, if that makes sense.
You know what makes me think of? Every time I was thinking about where you are, I was like, all I can think about is Peyton Manning, because when he was quarterback, he would say Omaha, Omaha.
Well, and then the other person
Makes me
that's
think about
famous from
football.
here is Warren Buffett. And so if you
Oh
think about his
yeah,
investment strategy, where he invests
right,
long term and things that he doesn't, I mean, he does super well, but he has kind of that Midwestern aw shucks thing about him. Our economy is very Midwestern aw shucks, kind of very conservative. But if you're looking for a conservative investment, this is the place to do it, because it's not very expensive to live here either.
wow, good
Yeah.
to know. Good to
Yeah, and
know.
so we actually started out doing rental properties
Yes, you
ourselves, and
did.
flipping, and the manual labor. That was my job right when I got married. During the week we would work, and then on the weekends we would get in our painting clothes and flip
Us
houses,
too.
do all the manual work. So, but this was a great place to kind of start our real estate portfolio and buy really inexpensive
Right,
houses. And, over time they've grown in value, but not like the rest of the country.
right, right. But still steady, right?
Steady,
You have that
totally.
need. Right, right. What would be your advice? I'm over here in my little corner of the world in Charlotte, and my goal is to bring as many people as possible to real estate, whether it's in Charlotte or beyond. And what would be something that if somebody's listening and they're maybe a first time home buyer, or they want to be an investor, but they think it's too hard, they don't have time, they don't have enough money, what would you say to them?
I would recommend it for like my first rental property. Uh, I mean, I'm so glad I did it because it really set me up, and I want my kids to get a rental property as soon as they
Yes.
can, because it really set me up for financial success later in life. And we did all the work myself on it. But it really kind of probably changed my entire life is just buying that one first house.
Yes.
Now, I did make a mistake. We during the time when everyone was buying everything at very low interest rates, we bought too many houses. And we also had a storm, and
Yes.
our
Okay.
insurance agent did not make a policy, an umbrella policy. Each house had its own policy. So when every house got ruined in the storm, it almost broke us. So that
Yeah.
was a stupid idea. So after we got through that
Okay.
storm, we reduced the rental properties we had and just did the Dave Ramsey pay one off and then buy another one and
Okay.
worked our way on that
Yeah.
trajectory.
Well, okay, that's good to know because maybe too much too fast. It's just like, we can have one cookie, but we shouldn't eat the whole box,
Yes,
right?
exactly. And I
Because
think
it's
some
so
young
good.
people,
It just tastes so good. And you just like I just had this conversation with one of our property managers, and the investors that we have with one property, not all of them, but some, they're like very hands-on. It's like your first baby, it's what are you doing? I want to know about everything. And, they want to be so hands-on, which is great. But then the more you have, it's just like, oh, whatever, 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 because
yes,
but that whatever feeling is also that, number one, you can have faith in your property management company if you so choose to have one to manage your properties. But also, if you're doing it yourself, you now have that feeling of, hey, I've done it, I can do it again, and it's not that hard. And you also know how to reap the rewards, so to speak, and you know what to expect. But yeah, that's a very good point that maybe, it was just too much for you at that particular time. And then the storm,
it's
so
the
to speak.
cash, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
cash is important when you're getting started,
Yeah.
and, we didn't have enough cash for all those deductibles for all those houses at
Right.
all. I mean, we made it happen, but it was
Right.
not a fun experience.
What did you learn from that other than you bought too many too fast?
Well, I learned that, my husband actually taught me a very important lesson about real estate, about the emotions around the houses. So I was being way too emotional about it. He was like, "This is a financial thing. We made a mistake. We're gonna recover." But this is the same. It's kind of the same experience as when you get a rental house and someone trashes it, and it just breaks your
Right.
damn heart.
Right. Right.
And getting to the place where it's not my baby and it's an
Yes.
investment was a
Right.
huge shift for me. And it was impacting my marriage because I was so emotional about these properties. And so just getting unenmeshed with it and treating it like my TD Ameritrade fund, where I don't get emotional if it
Right.
goes up and down with time, that was a game changer for me. And it allowed me to be better at property management, have better relationships because I wasn't impacted by my real estate, and be a better investor.
Interesting. I love that because that is what we would like to communicate. That's what I was trying to say. And you said it even better. People get so emotional. And when I was teaching school, they were so emotional about their children, right? The parents were, as they should be. And then when you're dealing with people's money, they're very emotional, as they should be. But to treat it as an investment, and yes, you are going to have some great tenants. You might have, we've had some in our rental properties that we own personally to stay for years, but you might have some where it doesn't go that well. And, one bad apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch. right? Because that not so great um, person that rented, it might not happen the next time. So, you have to just move on and accept
And
that
I also think you can talk
unemotionally.
about it on the front end. So I just
Right.
had a friend, old colleague. We went out to coffee, and he's like, "I'm going to get into rental properties." I'm like, "This is awesome. Good for you. So happy for you. Let's just talk about all the emotional things that can happen, and you talk to your wife about how you're going to handle each one of those, because here's what's going to happen. Someone's going to ruin your property and it's going to suck. There are certain months you're not going to make money because you have this big turnover. How are you going to handle that? How are you going to feel about that? How's that going to impact your life? What are you going to do? The other one is, if you don't have a spouse who wants to get dirty carpet up on the weekends, doing those remodels yourself can be very hard on a marriage. So
Yes.
if you're going
You're
to pay,
preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir.
so if you're going to get other people to do that, you have to make sure that that's included in your financials, because that's going to be more expensive than you doing it yourself.
Yes.
And just, there are a lot of things that you can kind of preemptively discuss. And people go into things a little overly optimistic, but they're, for like
Yes.
business, there are ups and downs. And so if you're prepared emotionally for the downs, you talk to your spouse about it ahead of time, then when it happens, you're not like, you don't think the sky's falling. And it really is helpful.
Right.
So that's my
Yes.
advice to anyone getting into real estate.
Okay, good. You know what? Our investor seminar this year, I should have you as a virtual guest. So
Oh my God, I would love it.
that you could tell everybody that, because I think that might be like the number one thing after, the question, how are you going to afford to do this? The next question would be, how emotionally involved are you going to be? That is a great piece to add, because if you do take the emotional attachment out, then you can see things a little bit more clearer. And, you probably had to do this with your company too, as I have. If I get really attached to somebody that I work with and then they leave for whatever reason, I used to take that to heart and just, think, oh my gosh, like, what did I do? Or I wish they would have stayed longer. And sometimes it is what it is. And you, it's out of our control. So that's the
So
same
true.
thing. Yeah, it's the same thing with a person that's in a rental property. It just is what it is. And you can't control people. You can't control how they're going to treat your home. You want them to treat it as if it's their home, but ultimately we have to understand that perhaps they might not be emotionally attached. So, you know,
Right. No,
that
I think it's
causes
a huge change, right? In a
right,
mindset. Look,
right.
real estate is supposed to support your dreams, right? It's an avenue, it's a vehicle
Yeah.
to support the best parts of your life. And so sometimes it can do the opposite if it's not a thorough plan, and you're not thinking about those emotional things ahead of time. And so I'm just advocating for thinking it through so that it is that vehicle to make your dreams come true that you want it to be, but like in reality, not like puppies and unicorns world, but like real
Yes.
world dreams coming true.
And real estate isn't like just being on social media. I'm like, okay, how can we make real estate sexier? If can I use that word? I don't even know. but
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
like,
girl. Use it.
yeah, how can we make it like, we gotta. I'm not selling, um, you know, everything that all these influencers are doing on social media. So how can we make it, appealing so that people want it? Because here's the thing, being employed is great, right? Having a steady stream of income, that's wonderful. Um, but how can we teach people to want to have that desire to have wealth down the road and to be patient for it? And you said something very important that clicked with me because I have two boys who are in the process of doing the same thing. Um, Rental properties. My husband had the wherewithal and saw the vision when he was in his late 20s and got his real estate license and was buying properties on the side. And then when he and I got married, we each had our own house. And so we brought that to the table as well. So our portfolio just, evolved and continued itself. But back then, people thought we were a little bit crazy. They were like, "What are you doing? You're taking these, buying these dilapidated properties, you're fixing them up the best you can, renting them out. Like, what are you doing? It's too much responsibility." But we saw that was a way to build wealth because Social Security might not be around. Um, neither one of us had um, family money, which is fine. I'm just, painting the picture here. And what we have found with real estate is it's foolproof. We have survived, my business of Henderson Properties has survived the effects of 9/11. We've survived the effects of 2011 during the, financial and housing decline. We survived the pandemic because why? Everybody needs a place to live. And once you do that and you have the patience and take your emotions out of it, then 20 years later, all of a sudden, the property that you bought for 55,000, which is what I did, and I know that's another conversation because people listening are going to go, "Well, you can't buy a house for $55,000 today."
Maybe
No,
in Omaha you can.
maybe, and also, the $55,000 25 years ago might be $110 or $150,000 today. So yes, you can. And um, so now that house is paid for and the cash is coming in to fuel other investments in real estate. And now my children are seeing the effects of that. So they want to do it.
Yeah.
So how, what's your advice to people who
Power,
can't
right?
be patient? It's so powerful to have that control and see you and I are like, yeah, let's do it, because it's exciting to us. But how can we make it exciting to other people?
Well, I think people are just at a loss where they're like, I don't know how to make my dreams come true. I mean, I think
Yep.
that it's like a cultural phenomenon where people are feeling like really hopeless about the future.
Yeah. And the
But
instant gratification. So it's like to me, it's a double whammy.
well, and that's where us who've been around, we've seen a few things can come in and really make a difference for young people's lives. Like in reality, things don't happen instantaneously. So just
Right.
teaching people that wealth really takes time. It takes time to build the dream life that you want. But it's so fun along the way. But
Yeah.
I just think it's so empowering to say, you may come from nothing. You may come from very humble beginnings. But this is a pathway to building the life you always dreamt of having. And is it easy every minute? No. Is it instantaneous? Absolutely not. But
Right.
this is a pathway where regular people from regular backgrounds can make their dreams come true. And I think that's where it gets exciting. And that's what it's done for me. It just, humble beginnings,
Yep.
make things happen. And it's been such a fun journey too. So I guess I would just start with the empowerment that the life you want is possible, and real estate's an avenue that
Yes.
can happen through.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think so many people have this misconception. Oh, well, um, whatever you came from, that's what got you to where you are. No, not necessarily. And you mentioned Dave Ramsey, and I just saw something the other day where he listed like the top 10 professions of people that are millionaires, and teacher was at the top of the list.
Was it? Because they save and I mean, that's one of the things that's really important about real estate that I learned early on is I had to, instead of buying like fancy purses and looking like super rich at the time. In 2008, everyone was buying some crazy house that they couldn't afford. We were living very modestly while investing in real estate, in rental properties, and our friends were living really large. But I was like, if people love me, they're going to love me whether I live in this tiny little house or if I live in a mansion. And I had to remind myself of that often. And no, I didn't have my nails done. And no, my hair wasn't dyed. And I was going without in a certain ways. But the dream of what could be kept me going day to day.
Exactly. And we need to get back to that. We need to get back to that. How are you instilling all of this into your new company?
So in Anequim, I mean, it's the same thing. Really, you learn something, then you build upon it. The scaling process has been, uh, I don't know how to describe it. It's been very difficult and exciting at the same time. So, and it's the same process. Come up with a vision, come up with goals to meet the vision, and then every quarter meet the goals. I mean, I think that that's how everything is built, right? And and so I think it just starts with like, hey, this could be something we could create, over 1,000 amazing jobs in emerging market, and we can help hundreds of property managers and real estate professionals at the same time. And just every day waking up and wanting to see that vision come alive. And every quarter it's a new thing, like, oh, we're going to have new training materials this quarter, and getting excited about nerd stuff. I love nerd stuff. So I think get yourself excited about nerdy things.
Yes.
First of all, life is more fun. Everybody wants to have a better time, but just go all in, read the new book, implement the new thing. The big thing that really transformed us was Traction. I don't know if you've read that book by Gino Wickman, but Traction
Yes.
changed our whole trajectory of life because it helped us be organized about our goals.
Yes.
And it helped
Yes.
us measure success. And so that was extremely transformational. And I mean, goal setting, goal achieving, little by little, quarter by quarter. I don't know if there's if I have a better advice than that.
That is so awesome, because we can't have success if you can't measure it and see where you've come from and where you're going. And I think that's another way that people get frustrated and lose track of what they're doing, or give up, so to speak. You have to have a plan and you have to work your plan, whether it's real estate, whether it's starting your own business, or whether it's being employed and working for companies like mine and yours. If people don't know what they're doing or how to do it, they'll get frustrated. And we've made mistakes too. We could have a whole nother podcast on that. That would be great, because, I used to think that making mistakes was maybe a sign of failure, but it's really not, because the only way you can learn is if you make mistakes and then put those practices into play and use that as a measure for your success. Oh, we did that and it didn't work, but now we're doing this. And it's a wonderful thing.
Well, I think leaders are afraid of the accountability that is included. So if you make goals and then you don't meet them, there's that accountability to your team. And I think that holds people back from wanting to make the goals and wanting to measure success or failure. But I think the exercise of just getting over that and moving forward and being honest with your team about, it's not about perfection, it's about getting better. I know with Traction, which is the goal setting technique that we've used, when we first started it, we were bad at setting quarterly goals because we were setting them too high. And it takes practice to set a goal and moderate it. Like, for instance, in fourth quarter, where you have Thanksgiving and Christmas, probably not going to get as much done as the first 3 quarters. And you learn that as you go. You learn by setting exactly the same type of goal you do for fourth quarter as the other quarters. And then you have to look at your team at the end and say, hey, we didn't do it. We didn't achieve it. And you have to deal with the uncomfortable feelings of that being the case. But guess what? You're not going to make that mistake again. And that's how you grow and learn and become better and do better. And your team does as well.
Right, exactly. Well, and so what's next for you? What as we end or fourth quarter of 2024 and into 2025, what's next for you, Gwenn?
We are just having so much fun. Like, I just love what I do. I love who we help. I love the teams that we build. And so what we're doing right now is we're building full out teams. We still can help people. You want to get started with your first virtual assistant. We are good at that. We love doing that. We love supporting small business. But for even larger businesses, we're managing their entire labor line item. And we're saying, hey, give us some outcomes and we'll make sure that we know how the sausage is made, but you can just achieve the outcome. So that's a big thought of mine right now, is that people don't really care about software and labor. They care about outcomes. So the more that we can deliver outcomes to make them look great, I'm getting I'm nerding out, Shelly. I'm nerding out on this concept, and I love delivering results for people, and I love building teams, and I love helping other people succeed. And so we're just doing more of that.
Good. And I have to ask before we go, because I work with my husband. How is it working with your husband?
We've been married for almost 20 years, and I
won't tell.
So I think we've both grown together. That's what I'll say. So growth sometimes is uncomfortable, but I'm really grateful that we've been on this journey together, from pulling up dirty carpet, from really discussing rentals, to building some companies together. And our family, our teenagers are everything to us. And so spending quality time with them.
Yes.
And you know what? It's been a great ride. It's been super fun.
Right. I know. I often think about, what was, and what our initial goals were, and we've exceeded those in our opinions, and we have also learned so much and have taken away so much wisdom and just emotional growth as well. And that part has truly been amazing to see too. But it does have its challenges, but like just with anything, too many cooks in the kitchen is not a good thing. So we just have to make sure to have our own little corner of the building and have some space. All right. So before we go, lastly, tell me, what's your favorite thing to do in Omaha?
I like going on walks with my girlfriends because it's so much fun. I'm not that exciting. No, walks with my girlfriends. We have a beautiful parks here, and there's amazing dining. And if you come out, please say hello to me. I would love to, any visitors, if anyone comes and visits, we could take you to a world-class zoo. That's what Omaha has. We compete with the San Diego Zoo for the best zoo.
Nice. Okay, nice. What's your favorite thing about real estate?
That it makes dreams come true. I love watching people's dreams come true. That could be any little tiny part of that.
Yes.
I mean, that's it for me.
And last but not least, what's your favorite season in Omaha?
Right now, fall is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. The leaves, the crisp air. I just love it.
I know. I love it too. I love it. It's going to be beautiful the next week. So anyway, Gwenn, it was just a pleasure. Our time is up.
All mine. Thank you, Shelly, so much.
Listen,
it was so fun to chat with you.
You got to come back, or maybe plan a trip to Charlotte, or I'll come to Omaha, and it would just be a pleasure.
Absolutely. Love it.
And tell everybody where they can find you.
If you go to LinkedIn, Gwenn Aspen, or if you are curious about remote professionals, go to anequim.net, ANEQUIM.net.
All right, we'll be checking it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been Keys to Change with Shelly Henderson. Remember, it's never too late to unlock your real estate potential. To discover more inspiring stories and invaluable resources, visit us at shellylhenderson.com. Your journey to a thriving real estate investment starts here.